IT or have been in IT in the past?
Yes, yes, I'm a software guy.
Uh, it's like testing in the production.
Live, of course.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock.
Or have been in IT in the past.
Yes, yes, I'm a software guy.
It's like testing in the production.
Hey, hang on, I can hear everything all over again once y'all finish talking.
No, it's my fault. I was streaming, and okay. So can Santosh, just one quick check. Are you able to listen, or Cynthia, whoever can have YouTube open? Can you see us? Can you hear us on YouTube?
I cannot, I'm not able to see the live session at all.
Santosh, did you have that window open? No.
It should. So it should. I am opening it on my mobile phone. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah, I can see that there is a live stream on BKC Fireflies.
All right, I'm going to start recording. Perfect. You can turn it off. People join in, great. You don't have to be part of that.
No, I'm not able to see it. It's restricted.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:01. We are already a minute behind. Sorry about that. We were playing around with live streaming. This is the third session of Super September. We still have a few people to join, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, first of all, welcome everyone, let them know to stay on mute unless you have something to say, in which case you can turn on your video. And if you turn on your audio. And if you could keep your video on so that we can connect with you through your camera, that'll be a nice thing. And I will be spotlighting our presiding officer for this meeting, Cynthia, to welcome our trainer and then decide whether she wants to wait for a couple of minutes before starting or she wants to get started right away. Cynthia, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sai, and a warm welcome to each one. Thank you so much for this time that you're giving us the weekend. I can completely assure that when we just spoke before the thing started, that it's going to be a fun session of learning. With the kind of things that Toastmaster Santosh was just talking about. And I take the pleasure of introducing Toastmaster Santosh to each one of you. He is a 3-time distinguished Toastmaster and a 6-time district level contestant across formats. I think that deserves a round of applause. He, with 4 podium finishes and a first place in District 98 International Speech Contest. Professionally, he works with a consulting firm in the areas of learning and development, specializing in both behavioral and technical trainings. He holds a BTech, an MA in organizational psychology, and 2 PG diplomas in training and development, along with over 10 internationally accredited certifications in training and development. That's a lot and a mouthful. Heartiest congratulations for the kind of accolades you have achieved over a period, just short period of time. And it'll be a pleasure and an honor to listen to you, Toastmaster Santosh. Over to you. I think we
Thank,
can begin.
sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Cynthia. Uh, if we can all switch on our videos if possible, unless and until you are eating something. And don't worry if you are eating something, I'm not going to ask you because anyways, this is a virtual meeting. But of course, I'll give you my address. You can send me some food. Okay. With that note, let's begin this session. How are you feeling today? All of you. Let's unmute and speak. How are you feeling today?
Nice.
Eager to
Awesome.
know.
Fantastic.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you. Sandhya ji, how are you feeling?
Refreshed but hungry. I'm eating,
Refreshed
sorry.
but hungry. Awesome. Good. I'm also feeling excited today because today morning in one of the youth leadership program sessions, I got to meet some young minds because back then when I used to enter any room, I used to be the youngest person in the room. But now that's not the case anymore. And luckily, I think at least in this room, I'm the youngest. Thank you for making me feel the youngest. Uh, with that, let me share my screen. I'll not blabber anymore, and I will just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can see my screen now.
Yes,
Awesome.
visible.
Yep. Let me share this. Okay, I hope that you can see my screen now. I'll also pop up my chat box so that I can interact with you guys. Now let's begin. This slide is intentionally left blank. This is what Sai and I were discussing for beginning. Now, crafting an engaging speech. Let me ask some expectations from this session. When I say crafting a speech, what is that you're expecting today? You can put it in the chat box, or you can also unmute and speak. That's fine.
I'm expecting to recognize what an engaging speech looks like because I don't know.
Awesome. Then,
How to write a speech, probably what
mhm,
parts should be in there and so on.
right. You're right. This is not all about writing, but more about writing. Although 5 to 10% of the time, I will just touch and touch upon and go with respect to body language and vocal variety, but this will primarily be focused on writing or crafting an engaging speech. There was one funny thing that happened when I first designed this workshop and presented. I asked someone, I normally, whenever I design a new workshop or a new training, I ask someone to be in the audience. I'll plant them deliberately and ask them for some feedback, like heart hitting feedback. Literally, गालियां भी देते हैं लोग. I'll ask them, give me some gali, that's fine, but I want some good feedback. The feedback I got was, okay, you are giving a session on crafting an engaging speech, but your speech itself is not engaging because you are not doing any activities. And that sounded like hypocrisy. So I thought I'll add a lot of activities. So when I say activities, I'm not even joking. This is not that cliche thing every trainer says. I am not warning you, and these are some general instructions. Sorry for that pointing of the finger. But what are we going to look at? Delivery and language. Now I'll be covering a lot on content, but I'll just touch upon delivery and then leave you there. Again, language, I'll be touching upon some of the ways that we can use language. Okay, all with me? Thumbs up. I can see
Yes.
Cynthia, I can see Sandhya, I can see Ram. Awesome, Sai. Now let's move ahead. Before even we begin, topic selection. Okay, topic selection is one of the most challenging things that we see whenever, at least I deliver a speech, be it in Toastmasters, be it outside of Toastmasters. And even before we select a topic, we should know three things that a speech does or a speech can do. What are these three things? What can you guess? Any speech will have three general purposes. What are those three?
Message,
Message.
uh, shock value, entertainment.
Yes. Yeah, you have two. Yeah, basically we give either to give a message, to entertain, or to inform, like an informative speech. Today I'm giving an informative speech, right? So it is to persuade, which is to inspire people, which is with a message. Again, to entertain people, of course, with a message, or to inform people about some things, of course, with a message. Now, normally when we learn something, we look at them in a very discrete format. Now, let me ask you one question, or let me tell you, when we learn alphabets, when we learn words, when we learn the rules of grammar, we all learn all these things in discrete ways, right? But when we start using them, we'll use them together. The same thing happens with writing a speech as well. We learn, at least in Toastmasters, or even if you go to any other speaking forum, you read a book, it is mentioned there that okay, there is a humorous speech, there is an inspirational speech, there is an informative speech. But when I actually deliver a presentation at a corporate, at my office, at my business, or anywhere, We have to blend them. Do you agree with me? We have to blend these three things. When I am giving an informative speech, I am also persuading my audience and I am also entertaining my audience. Otherwise, they will get bored in between. Right? So that's going to be the premise with which we'll be starting. And then speech structures. Again, this is not more about speech structures, but little bit on that. Any speech will have an opening, body, conclusion. Then you can have a past, present, future format, or you can have a story, or you can say the topical format. Like right now, I'm using a topical format wherein there are three topics: content, delivery, and language. Okay. You can have problem solution. I can say that, okay, I have a problem. How to write a speech? Solution. This is how you write a speech. Like this, there are multiple formats. Now, again, this is not my idea here to just cover those basics, but this is all about writing a speech. But why we are here is to write an engaging speech. So all these things, speech structures, everything I'll be sharing with you as a handout. I'll also share a handout with you which will help you prepare or identify some speech topics. Okay. What we'll do now is we'll do an activity. Okay. And this is where I'd request you to get run, grab a pen, paper, or if you have a mobile phone in your hand, that's fine, and come. This activity is known as find your story. Find your story. You are with me? We have 10 people with us now, which is a good news. Once you have your pen, paper, write PP in the chat. Write PP in the chat once you have your pen, paper. Pen, paper, or mobile, anything. Maybe you can write PPM, pen, paper, mobile. To take notes, you'll have to take simple notes. I'm not gonna make you write an essay. Okay, PPM, PPM or PP, anything is fine. Come on, I got 4 responses, including me. 5, 6. Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Zahir. Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Manoj. Mm, thank you, Shapali. Thank you, Bhuvi. Thank you, Cynthia. Awesome. We have a lot of responses. Let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Now, what is this activity all about? There are certain instructions that you have to follow. So the first one you have already done. Great. Okay. Now, again, you can listen using your headphones so that you can clearly hear what I am saying. And then in this exercise, I'll be showing you some incidents in one word or one phrase. Okay. I'll also give you an example how it goes. So you have to write down high level details of an incident that you recollected during this exercise. What is this? Let me go to the next slide. Now, each of the phrases that I'm going to share with you in the upcoming slides, it will have something like this. Do you remember a time when you were? All the questions will start with this phrase. Do you remember a time when you were? I can say, do you remember a time when you were confused? Okay. Then you have to write a very short phrase about it, like when I was confused. The last time I was confused when I misplaced my engagement ring in the house again. I have this habit of putting it somewhere else, and every day at least once I lose my engagement ring, and my wife frets over it. Got it? Now this is a speech topic, right? Because I can use this as a story. Things that I misplace. I also misplace my specs. Cynthia, madam, you have specs. Will you often replace your specs so you can reconnect with it, right? So this is the idea of this exercise. What you do is you write down just like this. Now, say I am saying confused. I'll write that, okay. Misplacing things is the phrase I'm going to write. So are you clear about the exercise now? What to do?
So, Santosh, really quickly. So you don't mean, so when you say, do you remember a time when you were confused? And you remember I was confused when I misplaced my specs. So should we
Mm.
say I was confused when I misplaced my specs, or should I say I was misplaced when I was confused when I misplaced things? So should it be at the lowest level or at the high level that I'm confused about? I'm confused when I misplace things. Or should
Right. I mean, write whatever comes to your mind instinctively. Okay.
okay.
I mean, I get where you're coming from.
Mhm.
Now, the deeper analysis is something that you have to do. The only thing now is we need those incidents.
Okay.
Even when I was telling this, I didn't even think about this example till now. On the spot, I said confused, and then I recollected or recalled that I misplaced things. This is even a new realization or revelation for me today. Okay, trust me. So you don't have to I mean, you don't have to be generic or specific. Come whatever comes to your mind, right? Sorry, write whatever comes to your mind. This analysis is something that you have to do for yourself. Okay. The idea is to help you find some of those things that you can find in your own life. Okay. Perfect. Great. Now let's start with this activity. Do you remember a time when you were carefree? Do you remember a time when you were carefree? Awesome. We have 6 watchers on YouTube. I'll go to the next slide. Just write quickly, instinctively. Do you remember a time when you were relaxed? Do you remember a time when you were relaxed? Do you remember a time when you were touched? We have 6 watchers on YouTube. Awesome. Do you remember a time when you were touched? Do you remember a time when you were fulfilled? Do you remember a time when you were fulfilled? Do you remember a time when you were blissful? Do you remember a time when you were blissful? Okay, so we'll stop here. The Okay, let me ask this question. Put it in the chat. How many stories did you find through this activity? I found 3 stories right now. Every time I do this, I find some stories. 4 stories. I found 4 stories. Mm. Bhuvi found 4 stories. That's good. Okay, Cynthia found 2 stories. 3. Manoj found 3 stories. That's great. I'm loving the responses. So I have this original uh, Find Your Story deck, which has almost 35 slides with all other instances. I've just shown you the sample of it. I will also share that list of things that you can think about. Okay, list of instances that you can think about. This is a pretty much self-reflecting exercise that you can do for yourself. And what do you do after this? Select the stories that you want to develop further. Tell these stories to the people in your circle and develop those stories further. Okay, and that will help you. Now, I'd like to ask one volunteer, maybe Bhuvi, to share one story that she found.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, madam.
Okay. So, one story that I found was for the prompt, and I think this is the best one. Um, for when I was touched. So, in the past 1 year only, I have been staffed on an extremely challenging project. It's now gone live, but I was working and I was heading the project. I was leading the project, and project was extremely challenging, and it also required a liaison between different
Mm,
departments and teams. And that is, of course, always very complex because every single team, because they're not reporting to me, they are partners, they're co-partners, and they're also working on the project. But it's not a top priority, right?
mm,
For getting
mm,
some work done, the onus lies on the project leader, and you have to ensure that other teams do the work.
mm,
And there is a little bit of negotiation, politics, managing expectations, convincing, charm. I mean, it is complex. So during one time, we had a project meeting, and we did the presentation. We got some harsh feedback, and then I was just, I stayed back in the meeting room, and it was 1:30 p.m., but I just kept working. And one of my core team members, they went and got me lunch. Now
mm.
this was not, I mean, they did not need to, and nobody, I didn't ask them, no, nothing, but they just kind of observed that I was stressed. I had not eaten any lunch, and I had just continued to work in the meeting room, and they went and got me lunch. So it's a small gesture, but it really touched me. And I think, of course, the way I'm saying it, it's a very human story. It's not probably as interesting as it could be, but if it is written well, I think there is definitely potential for it to have some kind of a story with a message.
Yes, I think that's a great gesture, and the story also is beautiful. And let me tell you, thank you so much, Bhuvi, for sharing that. Let's all give a huge round of virtual applause to Bhuvi. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing that story. Let me tell you, whenever I do this activity, I find such beautiful story that touches each one of us. How many of you feel touched with this actually, right? I mean, let me ask, just to test it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was, you expect workplace to be very professional and we don't care about you. I'm doing your work, you do your work. But for a team member to bring food for someone unasked, that is pretty inspiring and sweet.
yes. Awesome. Yes. Thank you. So Sandhya has raised her hand. Sandhya, please.
No, I was raising my hand in response to your
Okay.
question.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So thank you. So this is one activity that I'll also be sharing with you that you can use. Now let's move to the next activity, which is storytelling. Now we saw how to find. Now we'll see how to show. Okay. So again, there is this one activity. Sandhya, maybe you can read this entire story on the screen. Read it aloud. Read it with all the
Sure.
pauses, vocals, and everything.
I learned trust from my father when I was 8 years old, and we caught in a storm while out fishing for mackerel. We failed to catch a single one before the storm hit. Dad knew the boat was going to sink because it was one of those Saturn brand inflatable boats, which are usually pretty strong. But this one had been punctured once, and Dad thought it might happen again. In any case, the storm was too big for an inflatable boat, and it was already leaking. So he called the Coast Guard Rescue Service
who back then were available 24/7, unlike today. He told them our location, and then, to avoid the risk of getting trapped underwater, he put a life jacket on me and threw me overboard before jumping in himself. We then waited for the Coast Guard to come, and sure enough, 15 minutes later, the helicopter showed up. I think it was a Skiroski MH-60 Jayhawk, and we were fine.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that, Sandhya. Now I want one more volunteer to read the. Now I'll be showing the same story, but a different version of this story. Okay. I'd request Shapali to read this.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Once, when I was 8 years old, my father took me fishing. We were in a tiny boat, 5 miles from shore, when a massive storm blew in. Dad put a life jacket on me and whispered in my ear, "Do you trust me, son?" I nodded. He threw me overboard. I kid you not, just tossed me over. I hit the water and bobbed up to the surface, gasping for breath. It was shockingly cold. The waves were terrifying, monstrous. Then Dad dived in after me. We watched in horror as our little boat flipped and sank. But he was holding me the whole time, telling me it was going to be okay. 15 minutes later, the Coast Guard helicopter arrived. It turned out that Dad knew that the boat was damaged and was going to sink, and he had called them with our exact location. He guessed it was better to chuck me in the open sea than risk getting trapped when the boat flipped. And that is how I learned the true meaning of the word trust.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shapali, for reading that. Now I'd request a couple of volunteers. I would prefer those who didn't speak till now. Maybe I know Dr. Saurabh, you speak in general, but I would like request you to participate in this meeting and share the differences between story one and story two. We had two stories, same story told in two different ways. Now, what did you observe? What was the difference?
Okay, so there was a difference in the start of the story. The first one was a random start, I would say. The second one started with, by creating a bit of anxiety, or not anxiety, I would say, but creating a bit of anticipation, how it went.
Hmm.
And then the first story did not reflect much pauses, although it had commas, which indirectly is understood as a short pause. So the second story indicated where the pauses were, how the expressions were, how the dialogues were. When you stress on certain dialogues, the expressions come out. It creates more connection with the audience. Whereas the first story was like more of a third person narration, which was kind of monotonous, but the second was more impactful. I think that is what
Yeah,
I observed.
thanks a lot, Dr. Saurabh. That is bang on. Thank you a lot for sharing that. The reason I asked you is that I know you have a great experience in speaking, so you got the right points. Thank you for helping me there. Now, any other observations from anyone else?
Basically, I feel that the second story was just humanized,
Mm,
and there was a lot of description. So I think the more that anything is described to a reader, or when somebody is speaking with adjectives, the more description there is, the more the listener can visualize.
Hmm.
So two things, human aspect
Hmm.
and the ability and the description. The more color, the more beauty that there is, which is communicated through description, the easier it sticks. The easier that is the story sticks.
Yes, thank you. There are a lot of qualifiers, I would say, in the second story that actually helped us stay hooked, right? That is what you want to say. Thank you, Bhuvi, for sharing that. So yes, you guys are right, bang on. So this is a very typical activity that I normally use in order to teach or explain how do we do storytelling. Like, see the difference. Like in story one, there was no character that we care about, right? It just started by telling that I learned the meaning of trust. But in story two, there is a character that we care about. What will happen to that character? All those things are there. In story one, there is no drama. In story two, there is some drama. In story one, what is that exactly is to be conveyed? The message is revealed early on, the suspense has been broken early on. Whereas in the story two, the suspense was held through the end. And then there are no dialogues in story one, like, do you trust me, son? Like these kind of dialogues that add impact. And story one also had some unnecessary details, like the name of the ship, and then saying that they never respond, and so many other things. Okay, so this is how we do this storytelling. Now, quickly, let's recap on the agenda. Where did we reach? We saw a bit on topic selection. I said that I'll give you that handout. We saw three things that a speech does: to inform, to entertain, and to inspire. And then we saw some speech structures like past, present, future. Then we saw storytelling, how to find stories. Then we also saw an activity. We did an activity on storytelling. Now, coming to body language, as I said, I'll just touch upon it and leave it. It's also important, like when our audience were reading those stories, they use their volume, pitch, rate, quality, pause. Even in body language, you have to use the right facial expressions, eye contact, stage movement, hand gestures. I am highly recommending you to take these projects in pathways. Any path you select, there is one project on these two: body language and vocal variety, right in the level one. You don't even have to go to level two. Of course, you have to do all the levels based on your comfort level. Please keep progressing, but make sure that you are doing this. Okay. So this is about body language. Now let's move to one more activity. What is this? Writing for the ear. How how to make them feel. Okay. Again, there is an activity. How can you describe popcorn? Now I want everyone to be on the chat box. Okay. If you are ready with your chat box, type ready in the chat box. Ready. Type ready. Ready, ready, ready. Awesome. We have all of us ready and engaged. See, I said right. I mean, I said I don't want to be a hypocrite. This is a session on engaging speech, and this is engaging. Okay. So this is popcorn. Now I want responses to my questions. Popcorn, how does it taste? Crunchy, yummy, salty, flavorful, crunchy, tingy, sweet, salty, cheesy. Awesome. How does it smell? The moment you enter PVR, buttery, caramel, butter, cheese, pleasant. How does it look? Snowlicious, tempting, heavenly, light, salty, cheesy, delicious, awesome. How does it smell? How does it sound? The moment you enter PVR, buttery,
Hey,
caramel.
Santosh, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
Somebody's video is turned on, their YouTube stream is turned on. I think some audio coming in from there also.
Yeah,
So if that person could please also mute their YouTube, that'll be wonderful. Santosh, please continue.
sure, sure. Thank you. I think the moment I said sound, I could actually hear my own voice or sound. Okay. So how does it sound? How does popcorn sound? Crunchy. The moment you bite it. How many of you are feeling like having popcorn now? Crunchy. Me, see. Oh, Cynthia, you just had awesome. How does it feel finally? How does popcorn feel when you hold it? Satisfying, warm, right? I think these days when we have the intervals in PVR, they show those beautiful visuals. Coke just pouring in, popcorn flying, all those things are to kind of activate our senses, the five senses of taste, smell, look, sound, and feel. Of course, I didn't want to add one question, which is, yeah, I was coming there. How much does it cost? No, I didn't add that. So using descriptive language, paint a picture in the minds of the audience. Like you can always say, I went to a ride on the Marine Drive. But if you say, went for a ride on the Marine Drive and I could feel the smell of the sea. Oh, that's beautiful. Right? You can immediately feel Marine Drive. And then using descriptive language like similes and metaphors. Now, what are similes and metaphors? Let's have a quick look at them. Now, a simile means essentially saying that something is like something, like life is like a box of chocolates. Whereas metaphor is poetically saying something is something else only, like life is a box of chocolates. I always use this example when I was a kid. My mom used to say, sometimes Santosh behaves like an idiot. But my father was very clear about it. He used to say, Santosh, he's an idiot. It is no doubt in that. Right. Now, just to give an example. And then this is simile and metaphor. You can say that she's as slip that we can use. Can someone read this? Preferably someone who didn't speak till now.
Manoj hasn't spoken, neither
Yeah.
had Prajakta or
Yep.
Zahid.
Yep.
A last smile to me wasn't a sunset. It was an eclipse, the last eclipse. Noon dying away to darkness, where there would be no dawn.
Thank you. Thank you, Manoj. One more example coming up on the screen. Who is going to read this? Preferably someone who didn't speak till now. Not able to, not pretty clear. Sorry for that. I think you have some network issue, ma'am. Niyamat, yes, please.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Niyamat, you are audible now.
The waves rolled along the shore in a graceful, gentle rhythm, as if dancing with the land.
Awesome. You can find the similes, metaphors, and a lot of things in them, right? Now let me go to the next slide. Triads. How many of you know what triads are? We use them, right? Like desperate, desolate, and despondent. Or, triads are words which are used in groups of three. They help us emphasize on certain points very strongly. Like there are some of these examples. One famous one used by Barack Obama. We must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America. Napoleon, yes. He came, he saw, he conquered. Right. And again, similar to triads are alliterations. What is an alliteration? Now, it's a literary device in which a series of words begin with the same consonant sound. Like one of these examples I'll read. Fred's friends fried fritters for Friday's food. Becky's beagle barked and bayed, becoming bothersome for Billy. Now, these are some of the examples, and then let's move ahead. So, what did we see now? Again, topic selection we saw. Then we saw the three things a speech can do, which is uh, entertain, inspire, and inform. Then we saw some speech structures, storytelling, and then we saw, we didn't see, but we just discussed about body language and vocal variety. And then we spoke about writing for ears, giving vivid details, figurative language, triads, and alliterations. Now, coming to the last one, which is pronunciations. I would say pronunciations, most of the times, this is something that I follow because, see, English or any language is pretty vast, right? And most of us, this is what I observed, most of us pronounce 95% of the words the right way. The rest of the 5% is where we face trouble in. Now, again, this is my own personal observation. Now, what you can do in case you find that you find, or in case you feel that you are not pronouncing something the right way, use Google. Get that, you can just Google that word or that, uh, yeah, what that word or phrase, and you can get, you can just text to speech. Google that, and then you get the sound. How is it pronounced? You will get UK and US pronunciation. Use UK pronunciation. Okay, because of course we use British English. So this is what I wanted to cover. Thank you so much. And I am open for questions now. We have very good amount, like 10-15 minutes for question and answers. I always prefer having more time for questions so that we get to interact a lot, because we have done some activities, and this is pretty much the thing. I don't want to complicate things, just keep it simple. So let's have questions now. Yes, I.
Santosh, if you could stop sharing, it'll be easier for people to interact with each other.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Yes.
Okay, so, my question to some extent still remains unanswered. How do I know that my speech is engaging?
Okay. Now, how do you know that a speech is engaging? If you look at it, all the kinds of tools that I have showed you today, one, the storytelling or the vivid imagery, okay, or the using the senses, or uh, kind of interacting with the audience, okay, activities. All these things actually make a make a speech, okay, when we write it, makes it engaging. It's not just asking questions. Okay, if I ask 20 questions in a speech, that won't become engaging. The listeners will probably become overwhelmed with a lot of questions, right? So essentially, what makes a speech engaging is, one, the use of stories. Two, the topic itself, like the topic Bhuvi has found, that beautiful topic from Office. I mean, when I actually feel with the speaker, I'm immediately engaged. I think that's the beginning that we saw. That topic is the most important thing. Then number two, stories. How do we tell those stories? Is the character that I care about? Is there dialogue? Is there pause? Is there pitch variation? Now, all these things actually hook the audience and engage the audience. Okay, audience engagement does not necessarily mean that we have to ask questions. In fact, if you look at my session, I didn't speak about asking questions. Of course, asking questions, opening with a quote, closing with a quote, using pauses, or using three stories, two stories, all these are fine, right? Because these are the things that we normally do. But the essential or the core lies in actually scripting the speech, which is your story. What is that one powerful story that connects with people? Am I able to find the right stories? One. Number two, am I able to tell that story the right way, which we saw? And then finally, making them feel with their five senses, making the audience feel with their five senses. So these are three core things that make a speech engaging. The remaining questions, all these things are like garnishing things. If I say that these are the three important ingredients, the rest of the things like asking questions, taking pauses, using your vocal variety, body language, all these things are peripheral things that I only garnish my speech with. You get my point? To the core are these three things. Okay, what about using props or theatrics? Yes. Okay, in contests, okay. If you want to go specific to contests, yes, contest is a different ball game again, because we have a scoring ballot that we have to hit on. Sometimes we call it hard hitting on the ballot. Like, I just have to ask a question because I have to ask a question. I have to take a prop because that grabs the attention of the audience and the judges. Or sometimes I kind of sing a song, dance on the stage. Yes, of course, we can use all of those things. Again, when you do them, make sure that you are using them with caution, because don't overdo things. Rehearse in such a way that you're not overdoing things.
I had a question regarding
I just
scripting.
Sure,
Sorry, am I
Zahir.
audible? Yeah. So, do you basically when you create a story, you write it down? I mean, and do you script out everything, or do you just write down, 4, 5 highlights and then just, go with the flow, keep it fluid? What would you recommend?
I would recommend, again, it depends on the situation, okay? Or it depends on the stakes of the speech. If it's one, it depends on actually two things. One, the stakes of the speech, and number two, the kind of comfort level that you have with narrating stories or delivering talks, right? Now,
Okay.
seasoned speakers like corporate leaders or say, yeah, corporate leaders especially, they are seasoned. The very moment I say seasoned, they must have delivered right from when they become a team lead to or a manager to a senior manager to a director to a VP to a CXO. They must have delivered a number of speeches. So they just have to write keynotes like one, two, three, four, five. These are the 4 to 5 things I want to address, right? For them, in case they are delivering, they, of course, everybody has to rehearse irrespective of writing that. Again, rehearsal also depends on the gravity of the situation or the stakes involved. Even if a CXO is delivering a sales pitch to another CXO in another organization, they will prepare very hard. They will have at least 3, 4 rounds of rehearsals and then they go. Now, in case someone is contesting in Toastmasters, then again we script everything, because it's like again a competition, right? Our athletes, when they go for a competition, they just go to the peak, because there if I have to take something from psychology, there you want to go to your subconscious should kick in, because there is intense competition and pressure. You practice the same thing 100 times, 50 times, your subconscious takes over even when your cognitive is not working. Okay, so to answer it in one line, do I have to write beginners? Yes, please write your speeches, script them very well. Experienced or seasoned speakers, you start to slowly uh, transcend from getting away with the scripts. Some people also, even in Toastmasters, even when I started evaluating speeches, for instance, even evaluating is a speech,
Hmm.
I used to use a piece of paper. Now I'm slowly transcending towards not using a paper when I'm evaluating a speech. Now, this actually helps us. So, in 2 words, it depends on one, expertise, and number two, the gravity of the situation or the stakes involved.
Yeah, and you would suggest script and then move off, and once you have got
Yes.
experience, then you move on. And I had just one follow-up question. So, in case you're in the middle of a story, and what if you just like for a moment, kind of lose track? Are there like tactics to kind of get yourself back on track?
Yes, again, uh, say you're in the middle of a story, you forget things. That's absolutely fine. Everybody forgets. Normally, when I forget something, I'll just say it upfront. Okay, wait, I just have to recall something. Of course, you don't say that in a contest. Okay, even in a normal speech, you can say that. Again, as I said, competitive speaking and normal speaking are two different things. If I forget something, I'll just say, okay, I forgot. The moment I declare and label my emotion that, okay, I forgot, I'll remember it immediately because I'm getting one some time. And number two, I got rid of the fear that what people will think about me. अरे ये भूल गया. It's fine. मैं भूल गया 1 minute के लिए. It's fine. People do take pauses to recall what they are speaking. So if you forget again, you don't have to, and that is where again your preparation comes into place. You prepare in such a way that even if you forget, you can go impromptu. Don't just rut it in a way that if you forget, okay, सब गया, गया तो गया. Okay, don't do that.
Got it. Okay.
We can take maybe 1 to 2 last questions.
I actually had, because I couldn't answer previously. So what I asked about contests, because I'm specifically talking about contests, I come from a different district. So sometimes it is frowned upon when you are too much into theatrics, whereas somewhere, some places it is expected. So it's like in the club area division, you come with a raw background and suddenly at the district, you expect it to go into the whole performance of it. So how do you work with that?
I mean, like when you say whole performance, can you elaborate on that?
So it's like, and surprisingly, it worked because I still remember that one speech that person started his speech with uncorking a bottle and then he drinks and then he starts his speech. That's still fine. But then his entire 5, 7 minute speech was all about, it was too dramatic for my liking. But that sometimes ends up getting the first prize also.
See, that's why I said there are two different things or two different lenses with which you have to look: speaking and competitive speaking, or a presentation and a competitive speech. Now, a competition is a competition, right? And especially in our speech contest ballot, although everything is defined very clearly, there is still some scope for human error. Or again, I won't even call it an error. Sorry for that. It's a perspective, right? Now, out of 10 judges or 8 judges who are there, if 7 or 6 are inclined towards theatrics, if they like it, for goddamn reason, it may not be about theatrics also. Sometimes people like the topic so much that they tend to raise the score. And as I said, on the other hand, in our normal presentations, or even you take any sports competition, that's why you look at Olympics, and there are fixed, measurable criterion which are defined. And all that thing happened with excess 50 grams of weight. No, that's measurable. That's measurable. That's it, right? So that's why competition is different. A normal scenario is different. So yes, I completely agree that sometimes we, or I even feel that some speeches okay here and there. We always have varied opinions, and again, their perspectives, and that's why they say that if someone is winning a contest, it does not mean that they are coming from out of the galaxy or someone from out of the planet. Yeah, even they are human beings, and 1 year someone may win, 1 year someone may lose. For example, this May I competed in District 126 and I lost at the district. I didn't even get 1, 2, 3. So that's absolutely fine. So that's why again I look at it. Uh, I look at the art and craft part of the speech, not at the winning or losing part of it. Of course, I write it by using all the strategies and everything, but we have to look both the things with two different lenses, or else it becomes very difficult. Like, because see, I just can't get into my office meeting and start doing theatrics. Just imagine someone coming on a Monday morning and just starting to do, yeah, I'll do this. It looks silly, right? So competition and this, both of them are different. You take bodybuilding. Okay, very good example. Now bodybuilders, they have this, they have all those muscles, nerves, veins, and everything. Now, of course, they are healthy. They have lesser body fat, more muscle. But even, but someone like me or any one of us, if we want to be healthy, not necessarily that we need to build that bulky, hefty bodies, right? We'll just have to be healthy. Our fat percentage should be low, our protein, our muscle mass should be high. That's it, simple. Now this is the normal scenario where I am delivering uh, a speech at my office. This is bodybuilding. At the competition, I have to elevate things. I have to show. I have to hit that ballot of muscle and everything. Today, if I go and show my muscle, okay, you are good, you are healthy, but still, competition has a criteria to fulfill. Yep. Sai, you're so funny. Yep. So I think that's a great audience you have been. I always love small group audience coming from a training coaching background because personalized thing is what I love. Thank you so much,
So,
Cynthia.
Santosh, wait. We're going to make sure that everybody, Manoj, you haven't asked a question. We're going to make sure everybody gets one question
Mhm.
to you.
Oh my
Manoj,
God. Okay.
no questions from you guys. Shefali, no questions from you guys. So before we drop off, you have to ask one question at least. So Shefali, let's start with you. Or Cynthia, your video's on. So ask a question. It has to be. You can't get away without asking a question.
No, in fact, all my questions were answered with all the guys' interactions. Um, I have no other questions to ask.
All right. Next session, we won't let you
Mm.
escape.
I have a question to ask.
Sure,
Suppose
Shapali.
if we are evaluating someone and the person is presenting a speech on the topic which I am not interested in, and in that case, I might not listen to it carefully. I might hear things out, but in that case, how to like connect?
Mm. Awesome. So first of all, we are not evaluating a speaker, we are evaluating a speech. Then second thing is, now see, topic is pretty subjective. That is where we have to understand that in Toastmasters especially, of course, evaluation, we are not, our focus is not on the content here, okay? Our focus is not here on the content. You have to detach yourself from the content of the speaker. You look at the opening, body, conclusion, storytelling, all these things. We actually have to completely detach from that. Whether that person is, say, I'm a vegetarian, someone delivers a speech on non-vegetarian, that should be fine for me. That should be absolutely fine. I'm only looking at how is this person supporting, or how is this person speaking about non-vegetarians? How did he or she open the speech? How did he or she end the speech? How did he or she make his or her point? That's what I am concerned about. I am not going to think, okay, I don't like non-vegetarian. I am not going to listen to his speech. No.
But we cannot separate our emotions instantly in
I
the
know.
beginning.
I know. I know that comes with practice. That's it. That comes with practice.
Okay, thank you.
Manoj, one question from you.
Okay. I find it comfortable to give inspiring speeches, informative speeches, but when it comes to humor, I feel it's not my cup of tea. I find it very, very difficult. Though I
Mm.
attend humorous speech contest, but never win. Somewhat the humor quotient, I find it's not there within me. How to get that into my stories? I
See,
find it really difficult.
it's very simple. If you think it is not your cup of tea, you have to make it your cup of coffee. I mean, like, um, I'll tell you what, you don't even believe this. When I delivered my first 5 speeches at Toastmasters, people came to me and told me, boss, you have to be a bit, you have to loosen up on the stage a bit. You are too serious. Don't do this. My only suggestion is, see, right now what I made it up is like, if it is not your cup of tea, make it your cup of coffee. Try to find start adding small 1 to 2 line jokes in each of your speeches. Okay, that is the first step you can do. Then, number 2, maybe start watching stand-ups, some of the stand-ups. There are some pure veg stand-ups also, not non-veg stand-ups. Okay, then I think these are the 2 steps that you can. Slowly you take those baby steps. You have an engaging humor path. Take that path. Start progressing in that path. And then you will eventually will observe that within 6 months, 1 year, you will start delivering humorous speeches.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? I think we have all questions from everyone.
Yep, everybody's had a chance. So
Thank you so much.
you can hand it over to the presiding officer.
Awesome.
That's the reason why I didn't give a speech, because I didn't give the question because I have enough screen time. But thank you so much, Santosh, for that genuine, simple, consumable tidbits on the entire speech process. It's very simple. We knew quite a bit of it. Reiterating it becomes more enforceable, and it's very, very interesting with the way you presented it itself was very interesting. So I just didn't know when those 45 minutes just vanished. I just thought it was just starting, and then you had already wound up the thing, and I saw the time. Oh shit, it's already 45 minutes up. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. And the people who missed it really, really missed something really good. But hopefully, I think we have the recording, so we will not let them miss out on those important points that you just presented us. And we will incorporate those little points and give you a feedback when we actually win an award. So thanks everybody for being there and spending this 1 hour with us on the weekend. We look forward to having you, because next weekend we're going to have 2 special sessions, and
Sure,
you
sure.
have to be there for both the sessions, because one of them is going to be not related to Toastmasters per se, but it's going to be more about LinkedIn networking, and that's going to be really good for you guys for in terms of business and your professional life. So thank you and have a great, great weekend ahead.
So
Yeah, Toastmaster Sai is saying something.
yeah, I'm going to stop recording, but there's a request for a for a photograph. People, please have your videos on. It'll be wonderful if your videos could be on and we could take a nice little picture. Bhuvi, your video's off. And it's coming on. Okay, good. Is everybody's video on? Yes, we got everybody. So let's quickly take a. I will. Whoa, what happened? Sorry.
Wait, I want to have a heart too.
You have to time it right, because I'm gonna count down to 3. Don't just
no.
the heart. I'm gonna say
yeah, we need to time it right.
3, 2, 1. Get your hearts ready. Do it. All right. Oh man, this is such a nice picture. I'm gonna send it to the group. Wait. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, let me. Manoj, you like this picture? You can make this part of your DP or something. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
One more
Bye.
nice session.
Bye.
Santosh, you were wonderful as usual, and we had so many people from watching on YouTube as well. So you'll be seeing some commentary on that on the WhatsApp groups. So see you guys next weekend.
Thank you. Bye.